Good afternoon. All this is Townsend Finance Committee meeting for May 2nd. Calling the meeting to order at 4:20 p.m. Could I have a roll call vote from the Finance Committee?
Jerry Limbazikas, yes. Here.
Andrea Wood here.
John Hayes here. I don't see the other Finance Committee members online. We need to double check. We did have our technical issues in getting started, so we'll pause and put it on hold for just a minute, see if we can get other people connected in. My apologies to those on the phone. We're still on hold, waiting for another member to join. Should be coming along shortly.
Coming.
Okay, just checking. Do we have any finance committee members on the phone not recorded as names I recognize? We have iPhone.
Seems like that thing, so.
Okay, so I have a message from a FinCom member, Mark Hussey. Are you out there? Are you under iPhone? Yep. Okay.
Don, I'm asking iPhone to unmute, but it's not
Okay.
unmute.
Can we unmute him on our side? Okay. Mark, I guess the suggestion is if you've got an unmute available to you on your iPhone, can you try that?
Unless Mark's at 019.
Yeah. When I asked the question, he been trying. Okay. Thank you. Partly a question, can we unmute a participant?
You can try. I'm not sure if you can do it on your end. I've been doing it on my end, and no one seems to be responding. So,
Okay.
good luck. Try it anyway.
No. I just didn't know if we had the power as moderators that we can.
Okay, if you'd like me to give you the power, give you co-hosting power, I can do that.
Let's try that, please.
All right. Okay, I just made you co-host.
Okay, thank you. So we can only ask to unmute. We can't, we don't have the ability to. Unmute.
You should be able to pop participant stuff and it should show you that. You should be able to unmute.
Okay, I thought,
Does that work or no?
we only have, it says ask to unmute, but yeah.
I think you have to ask to unmute and then he'll say. It'll pop up,
Oh,
it'll pop up.
it'll pop up a question on his end.
And then pop up.
Okay.
I've been able to mute and unmute people when they're on a computer.
Okay,
On an
yeah.
iPhone, it might be different.
Okay. I guess. Okay, sorry, we're just still a little bit of technology problems here, trying to get to unmute.
You driving?
He was able to get back a little quick. Mark, are you driving, or are you someplace safe to try things on your phone? Sorry, I asked 2 questions and I got 1 answer. Driving, thank you. Okay. Are you?
Tell me, I think he's muted.
Yeah. He said he's been trying to unmute when we were talking. Do you get the message from us when we click the ask to unmute? Is there a pop-up where you can just hit yes? Oh, I'm almost home. Okay, good. We'll, sorry, we'll give it just a little bit more. Thank you. We'll get back to you when you're at home and safe to do so. And again, we're a little delayed waiting for the quorum before we begin.
Hello? Stop it.
Oops.
Hello,
Oh, that Mark?
that's me.
Okay, Mark, we're doing the roll call vote, or the roll call for members. Just please identify yourself as present.
Mark Hussey, present.
Okay, that would be our fourth member for the Finance Committee. With that, we have a quorum, so we can proceed with the meeting. The Finance Committee meeting is being recorded today and broadcast on Channel 9. At this time, I do not have any additions or deletions from the agenda. Are there anything from Finance Committee members that need to be added to the agenda? None being heard, we'll at this point jump into the work session. Go past the warrant recommendations. We'll revisit that after we review the omnibus and the workbook updates. We have received email. Let me just get second share my screen so that we can all be working on the same file. And okay. And I'm sorry for the delay for everybody else on the phone. Russ, do you want to describe changes? What do you want? You want the omnibus up, or do you want the budget prep file up? Okay.
The omnibus, I mean, we made a lot of changes last Wednesday for the selectmen's meeting, which
Mhm.
essentially the selectmen voted on. You want to go through all of those? You want to talk about just the ones that we made today from Wednesday? Where do you want
Um, I think it's best to do them all. It's gonna just
There's a long list. It'll take us,
take us too long to go through. Can we summarize it with them, because
yes, so
yeah.
there are a number of departments that have asked for increased hours.
Mhm.
Back most of those increases out. There are people that, anyone not in the union or not with a personal services contract, we cut their increases either 0% or 1%. We backed out increases for people on stipends. Some of those are relatively small numbers, but we were looking for everything we could. Today, I took, with the consent of Mike, I took $1,000 out of professional training for land use. We've not used even close to that number for this year, so we thought they should certainly do that for next year. In a number of places where there's travel expenses, this is basically based on people using their personal vehicles to go to meetings. We backed out some of those numbers, basically cut them in half, figuring that they could use the town hall vehicle that we recently acquired from the water department. That would end up being a scheduling challenge to see if everybody can get use of the vehicle when they need to. But I think that also avoids the risk of a traffic accident while on town business that then impacts their personal vehicle and potentially their personal insurance. So I encourage employees to do that. Other changes we made?
Streetlights cut in half.
Streetlights, we cut that in half.
We removed the CBF landscaping contract and added 10,000 to cemetery and park to do the mowing at town buildings that are now cut through the mowing contract. That was more, by the way, than what I cut 25,000. I think it's 28,500.
Okay.
I checked with Barry for the year. So there's probably more there.
I'm sorry, I missed that one. What did she say?
The last one was the CBF contract
Oh,
for
okay.
landscaping.
And I haven't heard from the cemetery and parks commissioners that we lost. They were gonna discuss it, I thought, Friday.
I've not heard.
Didn't we take it away from them once and now?
I
Like
think
4 or 5
that,
years
I
ago?
think that it used to be cemetery and parks that did it.
Right,
Historically. And at some point in the past, maybe 10 years, I don't know when, they started hiring out.
right.
And so this is putting it back.
To the parks and
Yeah,
cemeteries.
it's less expensive.
And how much did we give them to go back to them?
10,000.
10,000?
We put
Oh, that's-
6,000 in salary and 2,000 in 2 line items. I think it's supplies and equipment or something.
Did you suggest that I should take more out of professional services for facilities?
You could probably drop it by 2,000 more under that line item. It was more, I checked with Carrie on Friday and it was more than
Do you think the
what I
Christmas?
thought.
professional services for
Let me see.
How much did you take
facilities,
out? $2,000?
another
I think it
$2
was
grand.
line 229. That we dropped, the professional services, and, dropped it by 23,590. But you could take out at least 2,000.
Okay, so. It's keeping up, I'm gonna, so that the line becomes 31,410. Yeah. The line was 229, facilities professional services.
Okay, Veronica, they're having trouble hearing you on the virtual world. Other changes we made, we were doing a lot of slashing and burning on Wednesday.
Mhm.
And then this morning I was going through the trash contract. And there was a wrong number was put in for FY23, so that reduces that line by $17,888. I'll give you that line number in just a second, if you'd like.
Sure. Solid waste curbside pickup. Looks like you've got it in, reduced to 733,
What number line item is
Yes.
that done?
555.
And how much was that by?
17,888 was what
Yeah.
we found the contract
So,
for this year and it
Okay.
spells out the number
Yeah.
for FY '23. That's what we're adjusting it to.
That gives us more free cash for this year as well. No, because that's
Yeah.
next year's.
No, and
Okay.
the amount for this year appears to be budgeted correct for that contract.
Yeah.
Was 733?
7.3, yep. So the amount for next year, curbside pickup and recycling will be 733,388.
That was 17,000?
So personally, I'm uncomfortable with all these recent cuts.
Mhm.
I'm uncomfortable with treating non-union people differently than union people. I've maintained that we should treat everybody the same. I usually do use that as a line to curb excessive union contracts.
Mhm.
But in this case, it's sort of the other way around, where we're offering the union 3% per negotiated contracts, and anyone without one is getting less.
right.
Depending upon where we end up at the end of tonight or tomorrow night,
Mhm.
maybe we put some of that back. I don't know.
I think the savings from the trash contract will cover.
I wondered if we had a figure for that, for the 1%, for
The,
the people that without a contract and without a personal.
my number's a little bit off because I forgot rec, and I had brought rec to anybody that was on the common class plan. Common class plan is raising 1% for FY '23, so everybody gets that if they're on the common class. Rec is on the common class plan, so I didn't. The assistant is non-union, so I didn't add that in, but it's 8,878 plus the stipends, because we took out the 3% stipends. That's another $2,403. So to restore the 2% step for non-union and the stipends, we need roughly $12,000. I rounded up because
Right,
because of the one that I missed when I was going through.
Okay. Yeah.
So with the 17,000 from trash, we could actually restore that.
On the positive side, although the school's already made some cuts, apparently the school committee is meeting tonight. I think they are aware of Townsend's situation and Ashby's situation. So advanced information I've heard is they're anticipating there will be a reduction in our assessment, but they're hesitant to pass it on until we had a chance to discuss it with the school,
Right.
which I can understand. Well, I did beg and plead and try to cajole it out of them this afternoon. So it would make a difference in how much we continue to cut or not cut based on where that answer is.
Their administration's top heavy. Just saying.
They've got their overall budget at 3%, and I think today it'll be less.
Okay, well, this budget is a work in progress right up to the point that we pass it to town meeting tomorrow, so.
Well, yes,
just
and as
need
I was explaining before the meeting started, I think the selectmen will move a revised budget that will be handed out at town meeting. That's a decision that they will vote on
So that's
Okay.
read quick.
another hour.
Okay.
So I don't know whether the
Okay.
finance committee has additional cuts that they would recommend or want to discuss?
I guess I'd like to start it, and it's at the top, and a combination. I'm looking at the executive assistant, and when we started the budget session, that number was down closer to 41,000 or 42,000, and so it seems to have jumped up 5,000 since the beginning of the cycle. So line 2, the Board of Selectmen wages for the executive assistant. We
That was putting her grade B step 2.
mhm.
She hasn't even been here.
Sorry,
She
starts in another week, 2 weeks.
gets a raise before she comes.
It's a
Voice.
it's a negotiated rate that's less than what she was asking for. The range of what we posted the job for.
Mhm.
We added hours. So instead of 35, it's 40, I believe.
So you've added hours.
Right.
Okay.
When did we do that? When we first hired them? Or-
Yes. In the negotiation.
And there's a lot of work that needs to be done in that
Mhm.
office. Need all of those.
Okay, so in general, it goes along that we're finding in the last year that we're paying more to get employees in rather than what we've posted and put in the budgets, like tax collector and other positions we've hired seems like the budget numbers gone up consistently with hiring people. It seems consistent with the outside world that you have to pay more to get people in. Is that where we're at?
It's not so much different from what we posted. We had to change our posting for treasurer. That was back in October, November, because we didn't get out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you look at M&A, we made it consistent with that. And again, we did not give what was asked in the negotiation.
A change that has just come in from the fire department. They've made several cuts. I'll give you the total.
What number is that, please?
That's line 336.
Can we talk about this? Because I wouldn't, if it's on, well, tell me where it is. Where are they?
Using ARPA funds, he's putting a new total budget of $298,026. And that basically reflects $186,974 ARPA funds.
I don't know if I want to do that. We don't have to. Because it takes an existing, with what we did prior, it took a position that didn't exist and funded it through our, and it took with police 2 positions that are not yet hired and funded it with our, it didn't take existing positions and fund them with our. So it could be hard to get back. Could be hard to get back. I mean, we're looking at an override next year for a change in trash contract, even if we have to pay $100,000 to get out of it.
So that's roughly $43,000 reduction on their part, or shifting of costs to ARPA.
Okay.
So here's the next thing then. If we shift all these costs, we put 300,000 strategically about a month ago. We split the bridge ARPA budget into 300 and 300 for public safety. And we had already taken out of the fire budget and some from the police expenses that could be funded through ARPA. The increase in supplies, the increase in training. So in my mind, I was figuring 100,000 of ARPA funds for those increases, with the hopes that they would decrease over time as the pandemic became less and less, which may or may not happen. We don't know.
Right.
And so if we have more than 200,000 in salary out of ARPA, we have to reallocate ARPA. Because we put aside 300,000 in public safety. That's another reason for not going with the 40, extra 43, if it is out of personnel. Sorry.
Now, is that an amount for opera that takes us 1 year or 2 years? It's a single FY '23. So in FY '24, we're coming back and looking to replace that revenue.
So we asked for 350,000 in the override. I figured 200,000 of that would come from public safety salary out of ARPA. And we should have been able, and we did, cut about 75,000 from the budget, which left us with about 75,000 that we need. We're still looking at that for next year for an override.
Right.
The override doesn't go away. That money has to come from somewhere.
Yep.
And the things that we didn't fund that.
No,
Right.
the positions are gonna have to go away because they're unaffordable.
Sorry, what?
Andrea, can you repeat?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was on. I was muttering to myself.
No.
So you're advocating for the fire and the police positions to go away? Because that's what will happen if what you're saying is correct. Otherwise, we're looking at other positions within town. So we have just restored administrative assistants. We could take them away, but they're important. They help the town to run. Same with all of the other positions that were budgeted for FY '22 and higher. So I don't advocate dropping positions. And we will need an overall.
We need to, yeah.
Or we need no trash, or
Right.
different trash, not
Yep.
no trash, different trash. That is funded
It's-
lower. That's all.
Agreed. On the, again, back up to I was going to try to go through and have the votes for Finance Committee, or recommended or not recommended. At this point, I'm not sure we're going to have enough time to hit all of the different areas.
Yeah.
No. Yep. Yes.
May I ask two questions because I'm confused?
Okay.
On the trash pickup contract.
Yep.
They reviewed the contract and found that in the third year, the amount was less than we thought it was, and they reduced it to that lesser amount.
The second year of the contract was lower. So it was,
I thought the contract was the first 2 years were exactly the same. And the third year was an increase.
I believe the first year was the same as the previous contract.
the first year matched so FY '22 matched FY '21. And then
All right.
they started the increases for FY '23 and '24. When the budget was put together, I think it was put at 755, and the number in the contract is 733. So there was
Okay. So it was just a mistake.
Right.
Okay. And then on the 1% for non-union people, I didn't go through the figures, but I did look. There are a number of positions in the fire department and the police department that are non-union. Were they reduced to a 1% raise too?
It wouldn't be a reduction, it would be an increase.
No, I think she's, the question
They are
is,
not, fire and police are not on column. The 1% is everybody who is non-union but on columns gets 1%. Fire and police are different contracts. They are not on the wage, the town's comp and class.
They're listed as non-union.
They are
Right.
listed as non-union.
But when you say everybody not union is
Who
getting
are on the comp and
1%,
class.
it doesn't include fire chief and the police.
It doesn't include fire and police. They have a different contract.
But like the secretary at the police department, she's non-union.
It is, two of them.
so,
Yeah. One of
Yeah.
them is union though, I said. One of them is covered by something and one of them isn't.
Well, on this, they're
Okay.
both listed as non-union, and so it was decreased by 2% on what was there.
So-
With
so-
the money we found, we're gonna try to put those.
Perhaps.
perhaps, so I'm highlighting lines, in the budget, 240, 247 and 248 that just show non-union in the police department. And
The reserve officers, there's already a decrease,
Yep.
and that has more to do with the numbers of officers and this. and that.
unavailable, yep.
I didn't touch those because they're different contracts and not on the contract.
So I think that, Don, the net of this
Mhm.
is, as of 3:45.
Yeah.
We had a budget deficit down to 55,786.
Yeah.
And then we've done a little bit of changing since then. I think direction from the finance committee and then direction from the selectmen,
Mhm.
another little bit, is do we come in with a budget that's has a deficit of 55,000 and ask the town to fund it with stabilization, if not, then free cash? Or do we keep cutting till we get that deficit down to zero? And
And that means
Mhm.
ARPA for what Gary sent you.
That means what, I'm sorry.
When will, is there chance that we'll know the school committee number?
I think we will know it before tomorrow night. I don't know if we'll know it before the selectmen's meeting. But I'm sure you will, because I think they're meeting at either 6 or 7 o'clock. You could decide,
We could
cut.
vote either one.
you could vote either to go forward with the deficit, fund it with stabilization and free cash. You could vote to make cuts, then you reverse those cuts if you get a better assessment number. There's going to be a lot of last minute juggling.
But it's better if we go before then, because I think if we don't, there'll be people juggling it on the floor.
Well, I prefer to have something
Right, exactly.
printed that we can hand out to the voters, so we're all on the same page.
Agreed.
So go with the cut with fire, 43,000, right? And then that gets us down to 12.
Yep.
Okay, so there was an error on the accounting line by a little bit. And we take out the 2,000 more from facilities. It's getting us down around 8. So in other words, the accounting wages support staff, the increase in hours, that should be a larger number. I think I sent you an email somewhere at some point after the weekend. And I was looking at this, the 8 million.
What number are you looking at, Veronica, as far as-
37, line 37. The support staff and accounting is normally 10 hours. That's what the 10,304 is.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Terry had requested 9 additional hours, which is what the 18,652 is.
Yep.
And we cut it by 4 hours to make it 15. So this number is a little bit less, the 8,348. I can look it up. But it's a lower number.
So we're back down to the 10,304?
No.
That would take it right back
No, that's-
down. to
yeah,
10.
no,
And I
that's-
think
I
we
think
need
I
the
missed-
extra hours in accounting,
So-
and Terry's not wrong.
No, I know.
We need the extra hours, so I was gonna make it 15. So just cut it in half,
Okay.
cut the
Cut the-
10, whatever in half.
Or cut the
Well, and add
8,300
3%.
The 8,300 cut in half.
because you're going to 15 hours. not-
Cut it in, so
So,
make it 5 nights. Because it was 9 additional hours.
Yep.
It's roughly 3,000. I did cut it by, it was 5 something. The support staff, make that, cut it by 3,000, make it 5,000. Or
18 minus 1,000.
3,000, maybe 15. We also have ARPA money for that, if it's ARPA accounting.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not in here.
No.
I think they need those extra.
I agree with you.
Mhm.
I do not disagree.
So what's that make that bottom line then? Minus 3,000?
Which bottom line you're asking?
23.
Line 22?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's line 37. I was asking for the total amount.
Well, line 37 should be 15,652.
Okay, and then,
And at the personnel, line 48, 97,152.
That was the only-
I'm sorry, did you get the number for the accounting support staff? Is 14,725 the right number, or what was
On line 37?
on line 37? What's that?
Line 37 should be 15,652.
Okay.
Don,
Yes, Andrea?
you have some raised hands.
Oh, thank you. I did not instruct people. It's kind of like when I'm sharing, I don't see the Zoom, so I apologize. I need to have a verbal on that one. Get to seeing the hands.
You have her over the little black bar unit.
Don, does anyone else need screen sharing?
I don't think so at this point. I
Okay.
think it's just me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I don't know in which order. I've got to see Walter in there with a hand raised.
It's Carla from the Board of Health.
Okay, thank you. Caller, would you unmute and like to speak? Hmm,
Did she disappear?
no, she seems to have disappeared.
Oh, no, she's there.
Okay, Caller, your hand is no longer raised. We don't see the raise, but you don't appear muted either. Would you like to speak?
I'm sorry, were you talking to me? This is Randy Rush. I'm with the North Middlesex Regional School District.
I was trying to get Carla, but your hand is raised too, so we'll go with that and give Carla a chance in a bit. So, you-
So again, I'm just really quick. I just wanted to, Russ Perry had mentioned that the school committee is meeting tonight. And I know he couldn't get any kind of real numbers from the school committee if we're going to be able to reduce the budget. We are meeting at 7 o'clock this evening. That is on our agenda, as well as a vote for any new revenue coming in from the budget from the state at the Senate level. We'll go straight to reducing revenues. The superintendent has suggested some reduction in our budget, but it is up to the school committee, and we won't know until there is a vote taken. So unfortunately, we couldn't have anything for you at this meeting, but we should be able to provide anything that's voted on this evening in the morning.
Would there be a chance someone could text me that tonight if it happens in a reasonable hour tonight? Or email me tonight?
And who is speaking? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, that was Rob. This is Roz.
Oh, okay. Yes, I can certainly take a look at getting the information to you tonight after the meeting.
Thank you.
No problem.
okay. Thank you, Randy. Caller, are you with us? You had your hand raised. You're still looking to speak? Okay. You have a volume on a microphone that's turned down because you are unmuted. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. If you would, if you need to speak, as I'm sharing files, I am doing full screen, so I don't see the Zoom meeting information. So please ask for an interruption. I would appreciate it. Okay, so with those numbers that we've been talking, that this 55,000 is working its way down.
It's now down to 50,786. 50,786.
Without the-
Without the changes with fire. As you said you want to discuss that.
At the next meeting.
If you want to put them in, you should look at them, because that's, if it's 43,000, if you think this number is right, that puts us down 7,000. Where did we get 7,000?
Let's go to police budget.
You already put this in.
I did. I took out a little bit more than he had suggested.
Mhm.
So I asked the chief to go back and calculate the costs associated with one more officer moving to
To
ARPA
ARPA.
versus
Mhm.
his net number, line 246. Was like 626,000.
Mhm.
I made an estimate last week, I cut it to 620,000. So there's about a $7,000 difference with the suggested number in mind. I was basically looking for everything, and I figured I'd take that extra 6,000, and we would hope that maybe their hours shift during the year enough that $6,000 would be made up. You never know how many hours anybody in police fire does. So
Right, exactly.
you can put that 6,000 back in there, but again, we're trying to get to that zero
With-
deficit.
yeah.
And
When you say includes two, are that new employees, the two new sergeants, is that two sergeants, or just those are just the, you know? The comments on that, it says includes two sergeants.
well, yes, there's two sergeants in that
Mhm.
budget.
Okay,
Right.
but those aren't new. Those are-
No, this,
Okay, thank you.
no.
Don,
Yes, Andrea?
I don't know if it's true of everybody else, but I just have the TCAM picture on my computer. You're
I'm not sharing?
yeah, it's gone.
I've got it. I've got it out here.
Okay,
Oh, okay. I don't
Um,
have it.
okay. Do you see the screen with all our pictures on it?
Yeah.
Okay. If you scroll up to the top of that, you should get a little underbar over on the left side on the top. And you can,
Oh,
You
I
mean-
see it. Yeah.
so if you shrink that, our pictures should go away and you should see the screen I'm sharing.
No, all it says is talking Don to me.
Okay, yep, okay. So,
If you go to your view up above, I believe. No, that's not what you want. You want to get rid of the guests. You're looking at the guests.
yeah, so,
Oh, participants. I think if you go to participants and
Okay.
you can move them to the side.
Oh, they were at the side.
okay, yeah. Hmm.
It says on the top in the green bar, it says you are following Don's screen, but
Okay.
I'm not.
You're-
I
you're
still
not-
just have the TCAM logo.
Then do
Yep.
you have the Zoom icon at the bottom, the little film? Click on that and see if that changed. Somehow you shrunk him out. No,
No, not that one.
it's a-
Yeah, I'm not gonna leave the meeting yet. So,
Wow. I don't know if she's on the computer or phone.
yeah,
Oh, I got it.
okay. Okay.
I knew you could do it.
Thank you.
Zoom classes soon. So, and again, if we're approaching those numbers, even the, like we're still in limbo, waiting for maybe waiting for school committee to come in, hopefully with a lower number. And if that's the case, then the budget comes into balance at that point.
With a lot of time.
With a lot of cuts.
I think you're right, but it's like what Veronica said, the override is not going to go away. And hopefully the townspeople are going to realize that and not think that we're all set, because we're not.
No, we are, one of the things I started to do is write a little narrative trying to introduce, and my introduction was, we are in the second year in a row trying to develop a budget for a 1 year look and come to balance for 1 year. We don't have that longer term view to give to the town yet. It's kind of like we are sitting there trying to balance year over year without a longer range plan. And there's two selectmen in the room, and one of the things that I wanted to do from the finance committee is get together and look at what the budget process is, what we've done over the last 2 years. It's two budgets for me. It's like 15 months. So it's kind of like, so I have spanned two budgets, and look at what went well, what didn't, and what we may need to improve, and work on the 5 year. One of the things I heard in the voter information session was that we also want to add new positions, an assistant library director and an assistant council on aging. That gets into really presenting a case of what forward-looking is going to be and how we're going to be able to fund additional positions. And that is in addition to the ones that are already in this budget that we're looking at. So when you add all those up, we either get further behind or we're looking to, and one of the things we've all discussed, how do you get that
Or revenue.
the revenue to increase, or are there budget pressures to decrease? That the percentage of our town budget to run the town is shrinking as the school budget's going up, and taking the increasing amounts. So we need to look at that and see, is there a way to come back and combat that, so that we're getting more on an even footing, or come down. If we came down 3 to 5%, we're not talking a budget that we're cutting things. We're able to move forward. So
Correct.
There's work to be done, and conversations to be had across all the organizations, and see what we can do. So,
I totally agree. Totally agree.
and I guess does it? And again, my idea was we used to call them project postmortems. Go back through, identify what went well, what needs to be improved, and how we get there going forward. So, do I need to send something to selectmen, or do we just get on an agenda under the board liaisons, and have that schedule
We can
a discussion?
schedule it. I'd like to get the TA.
Mhm. Yeah.
Up to speed.
Agreed. That's,
And,
yeah.
so I would say last meeting in June, first meeting in July,
Mhm.
we start looking midsummer,
Mhm. Okay.
get this going.
Yep.
Close out the year.
Mhm.
And,
Right.
And then
And-
work on that.
and then
July,
Right. Yeah.
But would
August
that
time.
be, would that be with all the selectmen, or would
I-
it be me as the liaison?
Oh, I think it would be with all.
I-
Okay.
I think so, because everybody's had a piece in it. You've got, yeah, no, I think it is everybody, because we've got liaisons to all of the other boards and committees.
If you're talking about to get on the agenda,
Mhm.
certainly tell Teresa what
Yeah.
agenda you want on,
Right.
and we'll work that out.
And then work it out. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's, again, it's probably some
But I
working,
am gonna be
a lot of
going, I guess,
discussions.
actually.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Okay. With that, I don't know that I have, with all the cuts that have gone on and the action that it's kind of like the budget is coming close to being balanced, and we still have some outstanding pieces. So I don't know if there's anything else. Are there any questions on the finance committee, from the finance committee on the current budget that we have just received?
I'm just wondering if Ross does get good news about cuts tonight and is significant, where do we start putting the money back? If we can, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So you saying we come in a budget, or we come in with a balanced budget, and if there's
A balanced budget because of the cuts we made, do we restore those cuts, and which ones?
and in what order?
I guess, yeah. You know, it's just a question, a thought.
When you consider that, though, when not just the money's back on the cuts we made, but all this use of one-time money, the COVID
Exactly.
money, and
Exactly.
the other
Yeah.
free cash.
Yeah.
I think these are good conversations. I don't think the school, I'm gonna call it relief, will be to that extent that we can back out all the ARPA funds. I would suggest we get everybody up to a standard increase for next year, everybody 3%. I think we figured that was roughly $12,000
Mhm.
to do that. After that, we'll see how much room we have.
Mhm.
I would
One of
think
my
we-
understandings of the matrix was you got a step because a year had passed and supposedly you had taken on new duties. It wasn't just an automatic thing. Well, you're in there 1 year more, so you know 1 more years of stuff. I think maybe we should apply the matrix a little more. We just treat it like a pay raise, no matter what. You don't ever look at. No one seems to look at how the position has increased in duties or responsibilities or anything. It's just treated like just an automatic pay raise. And that isn't right.
If you're in the union, it's listed as a step in the contract. If you're not in the union, it's based on evaluation. I don't know when the last evaluations were done in this town.
Mhm.
As far as I know, there have been no evaluations done of anybody since I've been a select. So that is one of the reasons why a human resources person is important to coordinate that. And so it becomes an automatic step if you're in the union, because that's what's written in the contract, pretty much. For the non-union, if you read the personnel policies and procedures, it's based on evaluations, and there have been. So do you say, oh, if there's no evaluation, it's satisfactory, which is what is written in all the personal services contracts that we are pretty much rewriting as time goes on. So yeah, it's a problem, but we need a human resources person.
Mhm.
So there you go.
I don't know that that's so necessarily true. It's that you could just do it yourselves. We could do it ourselves. And as far as the union is concerned, an automatic step on the matrix is something they just agreed to. It doesn't mean during the negotiations for the next contract that you can't change that and you can't stand strong.
You are correct.
The unions aren't just an automatic thing, or they shouldn't be. They have been, but they shouldn't be.
Dawn?
Yes, that's Sue.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I just have a couple of things. I'm a little confused about the presentation of the budget, and I figure I'll ask you tonight. When I look, let's say, at the settlement line in the Board of Selectmen line 5.
Yep.
The notation is to use free cash.
Yes.
So that amount of money you're saying needs to come from free cash. Is that correct?
We'll do it all together. We'll talk about 4 and 5 because both of them are the same.
Okay.
We had tried to move these out into the capital and pay them from capital and use free cash there. When we spoke with the treasurer, because these are salary related and we're paying into the retirement funds and things like that, there would have been a lot of accounting behind the scenes in order to account for these lines, and to do the accounting and taxes and everything else associated with it. So they were put into this budget in these lines so that we can see them and so that we can pay them and create a payroll line so that they're paid out of payroll and automatically taxes and all the other expenses can be managed as if
And
it were.
in one respect, they're the last year of this contract. So for this year, the use of free cash isn't so bad because in a sense you could view it as a one-time purchase.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I understand what you're doing there, but when you're trying to get a balanced number, show me the numbers that you're trying to balance. Looking at that worksheet. Because
Yep.
well, I guess it's like, well, you do have free cash and you're spending free cash for those items. Okay. So this isn't like a raise and appropriate. This is just a total bottom line. Is that correct?
Total bottom line for where?
For the
Okay. When you say you're balancing the budget, tell me what numbers you're trying to balance. Show me on this worksheet.
Pull up the recap.
Okay.
So
Sorry, let me shrink it a little bit. Okay.
So in the black at the top,
Yeah.
24,932, 533. That's the number that is the bottom line of the omnibus budget sheet.
Okay.
Okay. Then you've got a bunch of warrant articles, which you see we're funding them from free cash. There's some down the middle that have no dollar amounts. Those are the items that are still there, but we've decided not to move forward with them this year. That's why there's $0. We move down further, we've got some offsets. Those are sort of numbers we're given to, like the overlay. These are numbers we got from the assessors that say they might not collect taxes for 130,000, so that's budgeted as an item. So you have to raise $25,876,946. And then you come down to revenues. We've got cherry sheet, we've got local receipts, we've got what we're taking from the ambulance, got what we're gonna get as indirect fees from the water department. There's some North Middlesex debt that is exempt. Same with the Neshoba, and then we have the money we're gonna transfer from PEG. That's a wash because that comes from them and it goes back out again. Title V and so forth, we go all the way down. And where I got my free cash number here. And this is, if you slide, yes,
Okay.
you can see the running balance for the free cash. Start with 910,000 we had left over from the town meeting, and we start deducting the items that are coming out of there.
Or on the right side of the screen.
And down at the bottom is the 158,000 that was transferring to the operating budget to cover the former town administrator. If you have your warrant with you, Article 5 starts off with transferring funds from various sources. One of those sources is the free cash. The 158,000 that we're transferring from free cash into the general fund to pay for the previous town administrator, and $70,000 we're transferring from free cash in the operating budget, pay for the leases on the police cruisers.
Okay, and so you're not taking anything like those, I thought those used to be taken out of capital. And you've got some items above that normally would be taken out of capital. You're not using the capital stabilization fund at all?
That is correct. That's roughly, it has 104,000 in it. I'm actually putting 41,000 to change back into it by recapturing projects that are finished and still have a balance. But I didn't think there was enough money in the capital account to use it. And you're better off to use free cash for one-time items than you are.
No,
to use.
I'm not arguing it. I'm just asking. Okay, so this takes the operating budget that we've been looking at tonight and adds in all of those other expenses. And we end up with a bottom line, hopefully within the levy limit. Is that correct?
Yes, you see on the red where it says available tax levy, and it's in
I
red.
got you.
What's on the sheet now is, it's 55,786. Changes we made tonight, it's down to 50,786.
Okay, so this hasn't been adjusted yet based on the things that you've discussed tonight. Is that correct? Or is that what you're ending the meeting with, is saying we're still 55,000 off?
No, we're ending the meeting saying we're at 55,786.
Oh.
Before we take into account the changes, I've just got an email from the fire chief where he's willing to spend or transfer some things to ARP, more things to ARP. I won't say willing, because it's actually his advice and preference not to do that. But he did that at my request, because I said, you have a choice of potentially not getting these people and expenses this year, or getting it this year with ARPA funds, and then discussing next year how to fund those things when the ARPA funds aren't there. So he's getting them.
Okay, that's a great segue.
Fund them next year anyway.
Thank you for that, but that was a great segue too into what Dawn was mentioning before. And in terms of longer term planning, that becomes extremely critical now that we have all of these things hanging out there being paid for by ARPA funds, and we have no plan as to how we're going to take over those liabilities, if you will, when ARPA runs out.
Yeah.
Okay, so my point is, this is what's in front of you now kind of budget. And if we don't have plans for some real planning activity, we're going to be in worse shape next year, much
Hang on.
worse shape.
We,
And
yeah,
and if I may, okay, because it's just us, I really think that I mean, I'm disappointed that we're leaving in new positions too, because I think it's nice to talk about stuff, but when you look at the bank account and it's this tight, maybe it belongs in the planning starting next year instead. And that's just my 2 cents. The other thing is half of the streetlights, really, $7,000, really? I mean,
yeah, it is tight. I apologize. I'm going to have to cut you there. We have a 6 o'clock meeting that's going to start in these. Okay. Yeah. I was
okay,
gonna
well,
say-
thank you.
I-
See
I
you
appreciate
tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you, Sue. And
See you
sorry.
tomorrow.
Okay, Finance Committee, at this point, I need to entertain the motion to adjourn at 5:50.
The motion to adjourn.
I
Second,
have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Carolyn Bezikas, yes.
We know when we did last week.
Andrea
Mark
Wood,
Hussey,
yes.
yes. Oh, Mark Hussey, yes.
Thank you. And Don Hayes, yes. We're adjourned.